Hello, everybody. The World You Loved, Slattery Falls Book 3 has been out for about 2 weeks, and a couple things came together today. I had a really nice review roll in from Brian Bowyer, who is an awesome author, writes these fast-paced, frenetic, anything-goes, splatterpunky books that you should absolutely check out if you have not read Brian's work. Combine that with, I've got some author copies that I've finally been able to put up in the store. You can go to brennanlafaro.com and there's a link for the shop there, or you can go directly to brennanlafaro.bigcartel.com and you can get these ones signed, $15 a pop, and I'll even draw something in there for you. So I figured, screw it. 2 weeks, it's not release day anymore, but let's do a World You Love day, and let's cap that all off with a reading, which is a little tricky with Book 3, because these are meant to be read as kind of one big arc. You can just kind of plow through all 3 books in a row, one big connected storyline. So reading Book 3 without spoiling the other 2 is tough. So I picked a little passage in Book 3 that I don't think gives away too much, but I would also recommend check out Books 1 and 2, and then, come back and listen to this. So in the part I'm going to read for you, big part of these books is haunted house exploration, stuff like that, but also kind of digging into the history of the town of Slattery Falls and the character of Robert Weeks, who is kind of the overarching villain in this whole thing. And we are at a part in Book 3 where we're diving into the research. We've got a character that's new to Book 3 named Penny, who is giving us kind of the backstory of events that have kind of led up to this point and may be useful in fighting this character that, hey, we're in Book 3, we've got to dispatch this guy now. So, The World You Loved. Penny smiled, clearly delighted to be in the driver's seat. Okay, Emily was indeed taken that day, escorted from the house by the Reverend, who we can only assume she was operating under Weeks' control. For quite some time, she disappears from our story, but what about her children, eh? Peering from face to face, Penny possessed the charisma and mannerisms of the most seasoned campfire storyteller. No one interrupted. Anthony and Eliza Stone, ages 8 and 6 respectively, are left alone in that house. Only for a few hours, mind you, but can you imagine the fear those young ones felt? Penny let the question dangle. I glanced at April, suddenly sure we were thinking the same thing. She knew that fear. With her question unanswered, Penny continued. Your mother, dragged away by force, screaming for her children and scratching at the doorframe for some kind of purchase, and when that lout of a clergyman finally tears her away, you're left in the dim house with only your sibling who is equally, if not more, scared, and your ears still ringing with your mother's screams. Wait. Travis held up a hand. How could you know the exact details? Oh, just you wait. Penny snuck a sidelong glance at April, then continued. As unwelcome and frightening as being abandoned must have been, it was preferable to what happened next. Penny paused to let the story breathe. The Reverend returns, eyes still radiating vivid green light. His massive frame fills the doorway, and the children scurry, afraid to meet whatever horrific fate this beast has dragged their mother off to. An 8-year-old boy, however, especially one that has been unofficially named the man of the house and is charged with the well-being of his younger sister, will choose protection over escape. In other words, he will be caught. So the demonic Reverend gathers the children in his arms. He appears larger now than when he visited with Miss Stone only a few hours earlier. Impossibly so, but we must account for the point of view. Properly terrified children and all that. The sparse bustle of people on the streets stare for a moment but say nothing before returning to their business. A trick of the light, perhaps, but Anthony swears he sees the telltale green glint in more than one set of eyes. He tries to scream, but nothing more than a muffled attempt escapes. The Reverend's filthy hands cover both his mouth and his sister's. They taste of earth and sweat, even as Anthony nips at them, a desperate gambit to regain his freedom. I shake my head and tune back into the story. The sights and sounds blur as the children's kidnapper speeds up, says Penny. Jostling his victims with every step, Anthony tried to remember every turn, every alley, but before long he is in an unfamiliar part of Slattery Falls. 10 minutes or more from home, as he attempts to spot any landmark that may give away his location, a door crashes open and the Reverend rushes inside. He keeps hold of both Anthony and Eliza as the sunlight gives way to a dim, cavernous interior. Penny leaned in, the perfect opportunity to hold a flashlight to her face, but the midday lighting made the excess drama unnecessary. Reverend Mannheim kicks open the door, but they are no longer alone. Figures in dark cloaks, lit only by an emerald green luminescence, surround Anthony and Eliza and blindfold them. They are left on the cold, damp floor as murmured voices fill the room. Anthony struggles to listen, hoping that one may be his mother, but they are mainly men. The one voice that clearly belongs to a woman registers a different timbre entirely than Emily Stone. The babble persists for a long time. A clenching fear takes hold in Anthony's stomach as he wonders what they plan to do with him. Will they kill him? What crimes has he committed beyond not being quite as helpful with the chores as he might have been? He reaches for his sister's hand but finds only empty air. Her soft sobs reach his ears and he knows she is there. Every bit as frightened as him, but he must withhold his tears. He must be strong for Eliza. The clamor ceases, conspicuous in its absence. Anthony hears measured breathing, possibly belonging to Eliza, but perhaps to one of the strangers. Something is dripping in the distance. If they are in a populated area of town, the din of the crowd does not permeate the walls. A sharp, tangy scent fills the air, and although he says nothing, Anthony wonders if Eliza has wet herself. He does not hold it against her. Rather, he reaches for her hand once more and comes up empty. "Eliza," he whispers, but receives only a hitching sob in answer. "Do you think they have left us?" Silence. All but that metronomic dripping. Penny paused. Without the announcement of footsteps, a set of hands yanks Anthony into the air. A scratchy robe covers the attacker's arms, and although Anthony bites at them again and again, his teeth find no flesh, no fabric. He tries to strike his attacker, but his hands are pinned at his sides. Feet shuffle across the concrete floor, and no one speaks except for Eliza. But her words are unintelligible. The pace picks up, and the steps jolt Anthony. Are they descending stairs? The trip goes on and on, frantic movement forward until they come to a sudden stop. With the rush of footsteps gone, the dripping sound returns. It's closer now. But before Anthony can wrap his mind around what could be causing it, a voice whispers, "Breathe deep, kid." Then he's flying. He awaits the inevitable conflict with concrete floor, tries to brace for impact and broken bones, but instead lands in a tepid pool. The force of the throw dunks him underwater, but thankfully he took the whispered advice and held his breath. As he surfaces, a loud splash sounds from next to him. "Eliza." He swims toward the sound, not thinking to remove his blindfold in the heat of the moment, and finds his sister gasping for air, treading water like a cat tossed into a bathtub. He grabs her and pulls her close. Though the water is not cold, he feels her shaking. Anthony and Eliza's brief reconciliation is cut short by the robed thugs. Their damp cloaks cling to their bodies, and music begins to play. It comes from everywhere, all sides at once, and although it is only vocals, it exhibits a strange and resilient harmony not typically found outside of a church choir. "Breathe deeply." The same voice comes again in a whisper as a hand clenches Anthony's shoulder. He fills his lungs with stagnant air before the strong hand wrenches him downward into a temporary darkness. Penny stopped and swept her eyes across everyone in the room, Robin included. When the green flash comes, it is so bright that even the blindfold cannot keep it at bay. And that's where I leave you. You want to see where that goes? You can pick up all three of those right now, paperback, ebook, or like I said, BrennanLaFaro.com. You can put in for some signed paperbacks that I will draw in for you. Have a great one, and if you decide to give this book a go, these books a go, I hope you enjoy them.